Again, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. How perfect for Ethel to have three great presidents of the United States speak at her service. We all know that the passing of Ethel Kennedy is a deep personal loss for her beloved family and her many friends, but also a profound loss, official loss for our country. So I'm honored and grateful for the opportunity to share some thoughts about Ethel from an official standpoint, but also from a girlfriend standpoint. I loved Ethel. As we all know, after the tragic loss of Bobby, Ethel moved forward with grace and dignity and a profound dedication to carrying out not just their entire commitment to expanding opportunity, promoting civil rights, and building a more peaceful world. Ethel and I talked frequently about hope, because people would say, where is hope? Well, we all know that Ethel's deep faith, and we said, hope is sitting where it always has been, right between faith and charity. Ethel's deep faith in God and in goodness of others, her faith in the charity of others gave her hope and gave the rest of us hope as well. And she gave us strength to help America cope with a shared loss as she channeled her energies into establishing the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights, which she carried on for more than 56 years. The center has educated and inspired leaders, activists, and students to transform their communities and expand the blessings of peace. Ethel's lifetime of service was a model to the nation, and for it she was honored the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you, President Obama, for that recognition. President Obama talked about when he first met Ethel. I met her maybe 60-some years before that. In 1960, when my father was just fresh out of being the mayor of Baltimore and a chair of the JFK campaign for President of the United States, the first event that we had was a tea to welcome the Kennedy ladies to Maryland. Now, my father was a politician. He was the mayor. He was an important guy. But for that, he became the person putting on the tea. That for the Kennedy ladies, it would have an abundance of flowers, the perfect food, the greatest music, and all the rest, because he saw this as such a great honor for Baltimore to welcome them. The imprimatur that Ethel gave him that day just meant everything to him. So that's how we met her, through her kindness. Her political savviness, yes, but her kindness. He was determined that it would be just a spectacular event, a model for the rest of the nation. She assured him that it would be. Over the years, I saw her humor and her communication skills. You all know that she was a great writer, storyteller, and quite a funny person, in addition to being a person of great faith. Ethel's 90th birthday party, some of you were there, in Florida, was like a Sweet 16 party. It was so much fun. The guest of honor was so beautiful, so full of joy and all the rest. And everything that we talked about was about what we were going to be doing next for a long time to come at this Sweet 16 party. We shared some stories about Ethel. One that some of you may have heard was in 1979. Now, this is before I am in Congress. Larry Bird was signed by the Celtics, French Lick, Indiana, signed by the Celtics, and Ethel was asked to have a dinner for him in Hyannisport. Kids remember this? So Paul invited Vince Wilfington and Paul, because they're basketball players. You know basketball come come to the dinner. Alicia Wolfington was assigned to cut the dinner because Larry had his hand bandaged. Oh, you know what it would be like a table full of Kennedys and sports fans, and it was raucous and it was noisy, and then all of a sudden, a very uncommon thing happened at that Kennedy table. There was a lull in the conversation. And at that lull, we hear Ethel, the mother in Ethel, proclaim, "So Larry, tell us, what role did your mother play in your basketball success?" What? As usual, she was a mother first, and that's what we know of her. Another was, and forgive me, Excellencies and priests and others, but this is the story that Ethel told and in her great storytelling. Another was when Artie Buchwald was going to be the godfather of one of the children, and they were at church, and he was at the altar, and then Ethel told us that all of a sudden he went to the back of the church, and people were like, "Oh my gosh," and she went back and said, "Artie, are you okay? Is everything okay? Why did you leave the altar?" He said, "Oh, I'm okay, I'm just not sure I'm ready to renounce Satan and all of his works and all of his pomps." He did resume his responsibilities, a Jewish godfather, but nonetheless, Ethel enjoyed her politics, we know that, and each year, until recently, Joe and other family members, his father and the rest, we would join Ethel for an event in Hyannisport. And it was always spectacular. She had, so everybody wanted to be there to be with Ethel. And part of it is we would go sailing. And we'd go sailing and go out pretty far. Weather would change in the course of the day. It would get cold and windy and this or that. Then when we came in, we'd be like so relieved. We were freezing cold and all wet and the rest. She saw us get off the boats, and then she went out again. And then she went out again. You know that, kids. You know that story. How could she just, and this was later in life. She was a national treasure. We all know that. This remarkable, remarkable woman, and a matriarch of a great family. The breadth of her advocacy, depth of her compassion, the legacy of resilience and hope is such an inspiration. Since we're in the St. Matthew's, she was the personification of the Gospel of Matthew. Not that one, a different one. Not when I was hungry, that too. But the one I'm quoting now is Matthew 7, verse 11. This is Ethel, being very biblical. "Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open to you." Now, wasn't that the secret of her success for all of her charities and all of her priorities? Some knocking she did in California. She came and had Red Fay start the RFK tennis tournament there. Paul was part of that as well. It soon became, as time went by, the golf tournament. But Ethel came, she played, she was a star, she was remarkable. So in every way, she not only had the ideas, the intellectual resource, she not only had a strategy about how to get things done, she fully participated in every way. Ethel's faith and fortitude and determination inspired all who had the opportunity to know her. It was the secret of her success, although I don't know that it was much of a secret. I began with my father, because my brother was a big supporter of Bobby. We had a whole family tradition over all those years. I began with my father. I'll close with my mother, who wrote of mothers. Motherhood has its overtones in all languages. Like magic, it weaves a pattern full of joy, tears, patience, love, each exalting like music of golden bells. She went on to say, my mom did, to try to explain, we must listen to our hearts as well as our minds. Ethel understood this better than anyone. To the grandchildren and great-grandchildren family, the path for a lifetime, for many years for me, of 6.5 decades, almost 7 decades, we prayed with Ethel. That was part of the relationship. We prayed with Ethel. When we heard the news of her episode and last Thursday, whenever, we prayed for Ethel. And now, children, we pray to Ethel. We pray to Ethel. God truly blessed her family in America with her faithfulness. We will never see her like again. This was an extraordinary, special, God-given person to us. As we pray to her, when we pray to God, that she may rest in peace. Thank you.